Well, ladies, welcome to this month's episode of The Breeze. We reached a milestone with this episode. I don't know if you're aware that this is our 4-year anniversary. We've done 4 years of shows starting in March of 2018. That seems unbelievable.
Yeah, definitely.
But I thought we would talk a little bit about the origination of the show and the concept and some changes. The most obvious change in this show, obviously, is went from blonde to what you're currently doing.
The
with
color
your,
of the month.
The color of the month. But do you guys recall what the original concept was? Way back 4.5 years ago?
I think we were charged with trying to do something similar to The View as a panel, voicing opinions about Sun City life, opinions that we glean from our own experiences and people in the neighborhood.
And how do you think they picked us to be on this panel?
I have no clue.
That's the thing. I don't recall any of us had any problems with argumentation in the group. We all look so good and sweet, you know?
Yeah.
We didn't know each other, you know. So.
I can recall sitting there and somebody evidently had dropped out and they say, anybody want to do The Breeze? I said, what is it? Yeah, I'll do it.
I remember.
And so, you know, the show was born and we pretty quickly realized that we needed to spend some time together and build a little trust.
Yeah, a little rapport, you know.
Mm-hmm. Otherwise, it just wouldn't work. And we think we've done that. We've become very good friends. And we thought we'd share with the viewers a little bit about how the show goes on and how we select topics and what we've talked about and what's coming up. I mean, it's we got a lot of changes that have occurred and a lot of things that are going to happen. Yeah. But basically, Margie, do you think we've achieved some goals?
Oh, I think we surpassed our goals. You know, because it's not just like a brief, oh, hey, let's do this topic. And then we sit down and we work it out. We really think about it and do a little look back, do a little research, and really think about how we're going to present it to the audience. Mm-hmm. It's not to create, oh my gosh, did you see that show? No, it's for them to relate to us as senior adults that live in Sun City.
Seasoned adults.
Seasoned citizens, that's correct.
Yes, seasoned citizens.
And that's very well put. I think that was one of our goals, was to get something on the air that was could relate to our viewers and that would be perhaps relevant to the times we live in without being another View or another The Talk or any kind of show where all they try to do is cut each other to ribbons. And really,
and in addition to that, we want them to think about what we're talking about.
Right.
We don't want to necessarily give you answers, but we want to give you topics to make you have a conversation with, you know, friends and family.
Well, you know, what do you think you bring to the show, Tina? Yeah.
Trouble.
Yeah.
No, I think that I may bring a dynamic. I don't really do a lot of research. I really try to recall from my past. I try to share experiences I think that will get people to want to do things differently, to encourage them to be kind to each other and have an open conversation. Because sometimes people don't want to do that. They're afraid. Mm-hmm. So I think
they're afraid of change.
Change and also afraid of conflict.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, conflict.
And Marge, how about you? What do you bring to the show?
Well, I think I bring maybe it's a gift of going back and looking at history and going back and looking at what everybody is talking about out there. Not only having my own opinion, but doing some research actually, and having some percentages, or even presenting it, you know, in a way that's different than just from the gut. It's from the head. You know, this is what people are saying. And I like to do that part of it because I learn as well.
Yeah, and I think you do a great job on the
She does.
research, which really helps us develop the
does.
topic. But you should know, everyone, that this is all ad lib, basically. We don't have a script, and
Wait a minute.
that's where I come in.
What do you bring?
Yeah, I don't bring much other than I sit between you two and keep you at arm's length. But I also I hope to use you guys as springboards with the questions I ask you and try to get you both involved and maybe express different opinions so that we can become more relevant. Not everybody's going to agree with us that watches us, that's for sure. And we don't necessarily agree on a lot of things, especially you and me, Tina. I think you know.
I'm the mediator.
And then Margie is the social worker and the mediator.
Yeah.
Any surprises that have occurred to you over the last 4 years?
Well, I think some of the surprises is that we get a growing audience, and I'm very pleased with that. There are a lot of what I call closet watchers, because we get counts from YouTube, but then we get other people that say, "Hey, yeah, I saw the show. I'm looking forward to it." And when we do our person on the street, people will tell us, what they're thinking, and they like many times airing their views and sharing with their family and friends.
And that's an important part of it because, as you know, and we've said this before, but maybe not on the breeze, when we talk about things and we interview people from the street, that's one of the features of the show that I really like.
Me too. Yeah.
We go out and we seek out residents and we ask them for a gut reaction to a question relevant, apropos of the topic of the month. And we really get some outstanding answers. Then those people can share with friends and family or neighborhoods on YouTube because we're on YouTube every month. You can dial us up anytime.
Yes.
And people do that. And we have made a few adjustments to the show. You will recall a couple years ago we had we had a volunteer named Larry Keelkoff who acted as sort of our Andy Rooney.
Yeah.
And at the end of every show, he had a few dry comments about what we were talking about, sometimes very profound. And then he moved on, and we moved on. But it's been a real evolution. I think our intent all along, our goal really is to stay fresh, stay new, stay relevant. And, have we achieved that, do you think?
I definitely feel. I think one of our most recent shows,
Okay.
when we talked about the cancel culture,
Yeah.
that seemed to have been pretty popular because of all the things that are going on worldwide and even within the community. Sometimes we've had to cancel a few people.
Cancel a few people sounds so harsh. But,
It's the truth.
that is a pretty relevant topic, and we've talked a lot about social media
Definitely.
Yes.
and whether that's worth it. Never mind.
Something that Doug doesn't do.
I don't do social media. But basically, that is such a huge influence on everybody, old or young or whatever. And the question of whether it should be that big an influence, whether it's addictive, whether it's mean-spirited, and that led us into some great discussions on what the nature of friendship,
Yes, definitely.
Yes.
Right.
which we've done. What's been some of your favorite shows?
Well, the cancel culture, senior dating, we did that in the very beginning.
Very first show.
Also, perception of Sun City outside the gates. That was a good one. Entitlement. Do we perceive that we, because we're here and a certain age, are entitled to a certain expectation here in Sun City and outside the gates?
Okay, and,
Sure.
and Margie, do you have a personal favorite or two?
I do. I like the one about nostalgia.
Nostalgia.
And we each brought in something from home that was like really old, plus the three of us.
Aside from the three of us, yeah.
And,
Speak for yourself.
and what I hope when people see a topic like that, or any topic, that they will ruminate about it themselves after the show is over and say, gosh, yeah, I remember that expression. My dad used to say that all the time.
Is that the one where I wore tie-dye? Or is that a different one?
Oh, okay.
No, that was the 60s.
The 60s, okay, that one was
You know,
funny.
and when we did the topic of your kids don't want your brown furniture. You know,
They really don't.
because we talk about that amongst ourselves, and so we're trying to kind of post some of the thoughts that we think other people might have.
Yeah.
So it's sort of a mutual advantage there.
Well, it'd be good to say something that's not very thought-provoking, so that people say, you know, they had a good point. And I hope that we've achieved that goal, certainly from time to time. We've been consistently on the air for like 46 months now. You say that's not 4 years, Doug, but, and of course, you know, one of my favorites was right at, just before we broke for a couple months because of COVID, was when I went through the 5 stages of grief. You know, when you lose something dear or someone dear, and we were losing our lifestyle. And it was really a kind of a hit in the head there that we talked about the 5 stages, you know, denial and anger and all that sort of thing. I forget them now, but that's the kind of thing. And people always say, well, how do you come up with topics? And really, it's something you read in AARP or something you see on the street.
Sometimes it may be just the ride over to Margie's and I come up with something. Yeah, because I'm encountering something along the way or what have you, and I go like, oh, what about?
Right.
And I've done that. You know?
Yeah, and then we just sit around the table and decide whether that's relevant, whether it's viewable, and whether we've got anything to say about it.
Well,
Yeah.
like right now.
And then Margie goes and researches it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right now, because this morning, you know, we got coffee, and
Yeah.
this afternoon we have a nice little tray that she provides, and I bring a bottle of wine.
Yep, and
That's a good motivator.
that usually works. That usually works. Well, this year we are going to be facing some changes. I'm not sure everyone knows that the renovation of Pinckney Hall will also involve the closing of the TV studio for weeks, maybe 2 months,
Yeah,
Yeah.
and we're going to have to adjust.
definitely.
And what do you think we ought to do with the show this year?
Well, one of the things is we're going to do remotes.
Okay, like this.
Like this, and we got some spots. You know, you guys can look for us maybe at Al's, and also at Hidden Cypress at the bar, and the pit, the fire pit
at Argent Lakes.
at Argent Lakes, and perhaps in your neighborhood at a corner. Who knows?
What do you think, Margie? You got any ideas on how to spice it up, keep it going, fresh?
I think it's probably going to be a more casual feel to it, depending on where we are. Who knows? We might even dress in costume once or twice.
Well, you may.
No, I think that it's a challenge that we've already overcome because we're looking at places, and I think people they will still follow us.
Mm-hmm.
It won't matter, and either that be on maybe even at the site, they may show up. Who knows?
Well, some other things we may try. We're going to continue the man on the street interviews, so you can look for us on the street with a quick question, and don't go running and hiding behind a bush somewhere because we'll find you.
Everybody has an opinion. It's just a matter if they want to voice it or not.
Well, that's exactly right. Potentially guests. What do you think?
Sure.
Experts?
Nah.
No? We want everybody smarter than us. Okay, we can talk about current occurrence, guest panelists. Maybe one of us takes a month off.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. But there's a lot of things we can do, and we'll adapt. We'll keep it going. What each of us brings to the show is a different outlook. I asked the question earlier, but we bring a different outlook. Margie is a Midwesterner, solid value, social worker mentality, and researcher. Tina's a flashy, city smart,
I'm from Chicago, South Side, okay?
Chicago and LA or whatever. And I'm just a guy that really enjoys having come to Sun City. I think one of the things we talked about was getting outside your comfort zone and changing your attitude. When you get to Sun City, I think that's very beneficial.
Yeah, definitely.
And one of the things I did is I got outside my comfort zone and showed up at the TV station one day. And we wish more people would do that.
Definitely. It's a lot of fun, and it's a great team that we have.
Mm-hmm.
great team. I mean, they worked really hard to set up for this, and we appreciate that. And
Well, that's one of the things I wanted to mention is that, the volunteers at Sun City have really made this show happen, no matter
Yes.
where we do it. And to mention a few by name, our editor, Sam Chase, does a terrific job every month and makes us look better than we really are. We've got George Rosehart, BJ Batt as our director of switchers. We've got Rich Schwartz, Kathy Ricardo on the technical side, the sound side. Bill America, John Ryan, Bob Grando, all doing camera work. And we just want to express our appreciation to those
thank
folks.
you. Thank
Yeah.
you very
And
much.
many more who have really aided us in the production of this show. But what do you foresee for 2022 in terms of potential topics? You got anything in mind? I sure would like the viewers to suggest stuff.
Yes, for
Definitely.
sure. I kind of will like to review the 46 that we've done or whatever and see which ones seem to be the most popular, because some of them are, it doesn't matter when.
Yeah.
When we talk about grandchildren or we talk about our growing up experiences, that's repeat information. But since our numbers have increased, there are a lot of people that haven't heard all of our wisdom and all of the stories that we have to tell. And I'd also like to see one day some way that they can request topics that we haven't given,
Right.
that we could build around. Of course, that's in the distance, but I think there's just a whole lot that we can still put out there.
Well, I would agree with that, but one thing we have to watch for is that we're not just listening to somebody moan and groan about an issue and they really want us to express their beef.
B&M.
Right.
Yeah, B&M.
Right.
No B&M.
So, and that's sort of the guidelines we go by. We obviously don't do religion, we don't do politics, we don't do sex, we don't do drugs or rock and roll. But and that's a shame actually. But I would like us to talk a little bit about the bad listening habits that can occur when you get to a certain age or a certain mindset. I would like to talk about the dumbing down of America. We did that
We
once.
did that.
And, just sort of revive some of the things we talked about and talk about new approaches.
I think we can do that. We talked a lot about holidays, families getting together, meshing or not meshing, how some of that might be handled.
Well, blended families is
Yes.
a huge
That
issue.
was a great one. Yeah.
Sandwich generation. You're caring for your elderly parents, you're caring for your kids who move back home.
Yes, exactly.
Or they're caring for you.
I've got a situation now, along those lines. My mom's 92. She just had a birthday. She lives in Los Angeles, and there's no way I'm moving back to LA. But she doesn't want to move here because it's slow for her.
Slow? Well, that's why we're here.
Yes. And we don't intend to have the answers for everything. Sometimes we just throw it out there. The only answer we really have is our own experience. And we're willing to share that.
Right.
And maybe that will register in somebody's mind about, oh yeah, I had that experience too. Or, oh, let me listen in. I wonder what they do about that.
And to encourage them to have that conversation. Many times
Yeah.
people are so afraid because they assume it's going to be negative. But, we try to spin a topic like that to a positive and try to give them some insight as to, steps they might take to resolve it, or at least to start the conversation.
Well, and another couple of topics I've thought of that may be wackadoodle, but what do you do if you win the lottery? What do you do then?
Travel.
That would be
Travel.
interesting, yes.
I'm going to Italy and be in the vineyard and have my glass of wine and my charcuterie board.
And your rancher.
And my rancher. Oh, yes, the
But,
rancher. I'm
my,
still looking.
my wife and I talked about winning the lottery. We'd never get to do that stuff because we were arguing too much about what to do with the winning ticket till we cashed it in.
You're an attorney. You know what to do.
Well, yeah, I was an attorney, please.
You can trust me with that.
Well, the whole idea being, it's so phantasmal that
Yes.
to even think about that How
Nice
about,
thought.
are you proactive or reactive, and how's that affected your life?
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yep.
I mean, there's a whole bunch of topics that we've either touched on or we can revisit,
Yep.
or brand new topics. How about the idea of what's the bravest thing you've ever done, and how'd that work for you? Any thoughts there? Aside from undertake this show?
Yeah. I'd have to think about that.
You really?
Yep.
You've done so many brave things.
No? What about you?
Well, aside from going to Vietnam, I would say the bravest thing I did was risk happiness by getting married and having kids, because I was perfectly content being single.
Yeah, I was just thinking about what you just said. I think the bravest thing I ever did was at, I forget what age, in my 20s. I moved from LA to DC, and I only knew one person. And that, for some people, can be just mind-boggling, because it's like, wow, you have no support, no this, that, and the other. I moved for a job, and I ended up here. So got married and met my husband there. So
Okay.
you just never know.
You know?
Change can be good.
Okay.
I guess my bravest thing with a 2-year-old was leaving a marriage.
Mm-hmm.
And, facing and resolving, I think, really, in every part of it, everything that goes with that.
Mm-hmm.
But I had a support system which helped, and it helped me to understand who I was and what I wanted in the future.
Would you get married again?
I would see 1% probability of that.
So
If
you're
it comes
saying
with a
there's
lotto
chance.
card.
I can tell you, for me, no. I want my rancher, but you stay where you are on your ranch, and I'll come visit.
Jeez. That's what I said after my first marriage ended, but now I'm happily married 11 years.
That's
so.
right.
So it can happen, ladies. It can happen. Sort of a segue into that would be revisiting what is the. Everybody comes to a fork in the road in their life, sometimes twice a day, and you make a decision one way or another.
Right.
And that decision that you make, whether great or small, really determines the arc of your career
Yeah.
or the arc of your life experience from that point
Yeah.
forward. And we'll do that. I want you guys to go home and think about moments in your life, and you just mentioned one that changed your whole life right there.
Mm-hmm.
And me going over to Vietnam changed my whole life.
Sure.
Thank
Thank you for your service, then.
Well, you're welcome. And so basically, that's the kind of topic that we like to talk about. That's the kind of topic that people can say, yeah, how did I get here? How did I get to this point in my life? And what do I have, ultimately you ought to say, what do I have now that I ought to be grateful for?
Yeah, you're right.
And how did it get to be that way?
Yeah.
So, anyway, we intend to try to be fresh, try to be relevant, try to be new, and we're going to be sitting around this table and coming up with new topics, and hopefully see some of you as we take this monthly show around campus. And that's basically it. Do you have any final thoughts about where we are?
I'm just excited about the new opportunities, and see you folks in the hood.
Yeah, I think we've had a great 4 years, and I hope we can just go on and on and on.
Okay, you don't think we should adjust to the fact that we ought to be sniping at each other?
It'll come. Trust me, it will come.
It will come.
I think we're serving a better purpose, that it's not a angry show.
Well, in today's times,
It's a fun show.
right. I think you're right. Well, folks, we're coming to the end of this, and I would say for this month that we hope we've given you some insight into how we go about making the show, what it takes to put on the show, the volunteers necessary to run a TV station, and perhaps inspire some of you to respond to our plea for requests or topics, and also maybe to show up at the studio someday
Yes.
And share it with others, too.
and share it with others,
Yeah.
but also come and take a look. You can be part of this. Until then, I would say, girls, we'll see you soon, and why don't you all tune in next month when we again shoot the breeze.
And it's a great team that we have. I mean, they work really hard to set up for this.
Well, that's one of the things I wanted to mention is that, you know, the volunteers at Sun City have really made this show happen, no matter
Yes.
where we do it. And to mention a few by name, our editor, Sam Chase, does a terrific job every month and makes us look better than we really are. We've got George Rosehart, BJ Batt as our director switchers. We've got Rich Schwartz, Kathy Ricardo on the technical side, the sound side. Bill America, John Ryan, Bob Grando, all doing camera work. And we just want to express our appreciation to those
Thank you.
folks.
Thank you
Yes.
very
And
much.
many more who have